Joe? Yeah. How you doing? 518. I'm not getting feedback. Right? Yeah. You would have heard it almost in a second.
This is cool. Especially get a hug from the mayor. It's cool as shit. Oops, sorry. Vietnam Mountain. Sorry. Excuse me.
I thought it was not lasting the night.
You guys ready?
Yep. Yeah, we're ready.
Okay, my name is Frank Catalina, C-A-T-A-L-I-N-A. I'm the mayor of the city of Peekskill. With me is my deputy mayor, Joe Torres. I've called this press conference today to speak to events that occurred over the past weekend, where a series of violent robberies and assaults in Peekskill, especially targeting Hispanic men, took place. On Friday, July 14th, there was an assault on Orchard Street in Peekskill, leaving the victim with a serious skull injury after being beaten with a baseball bat. He suffered a fractured skull, among other injuries. Peekskill detectives began an aggressive investigation immediately. On Saturday night, another Hispanic man was assaulted on South Street in Peekskill. The attack and the description of the defendants was similar. Based upon eyewitness descriptions, Peekskill patrol officers stopped and detained and questioned and arrested 3 individuals immediately on South Street Saturday night. At the time of that arrest, property belonging to both victims was recovered. They were arrested in connection with this were 21-year-old twins, Essa and Ishmael McGowan, and 20-year-old Akeem Joseph. They were brought before a city court judge, Melissa Lohr, on assault second degree, a Class B felony, unpunishable by 15 to 20 years in jail, gang assault, and robbery. Judge Lohr released the twins without bail at that time, and defendant Joseph, who had a domestic violence charge pending, which I understand involved an assault, she set bail at $1,000. The ROR status on the McGowan twins and the $1,000 bail on Joseph was set despite being specifically advised by the lieutenant on duty that the suspects were the prime suspects in the Friday night crimes, which they had not yet been charged with, and their prior records, which I am not at liberty to discuss. On Monday, July 17th, the defendant Ishmael McGowan was positively identified by the Friday victim, and detectives began a citywide search for his arrest for the Friday incident. During that search and investigation, his brother Essa McGowan hindered the investigation and search for his brother and was separately charged with disorderly conduct, resisting arrest, and obstructing governmental administration based upon his attack on our police officers. He was arrested, and bail on those unrelated charges was set at $500. At this point, only Ishmael is being charged with the Friday crimes, and he was brought before the Peekskill City Court, where Judge Lohr now set bail in the amount of $10,000. He remains ROR with the other 2 defendants on the Saturday night crime. The crimes of the last weekend are still under investigation. Further arrests are expected, including the designation of these crimes as hate crimes. We have the fullest confidence in our police department under the direction of Chief Johansson and our excellent Westchester County District Attorney, Anthony Scarpino, who is well experienced in these matters. I would like to report to you on the current condition of the victims. The victims of both Friday and Saturday night's attacks are now out of the hospital and with their families. Both have requested their names not be made public. In fact, the victim of Friday night's attack was admitted into the hospital under an alias. Friday's victim suffered skull fractures from being beaten with a baseball bat, a fractured eye socket, and multiple contusions about his body. Saturday's victim sustained multiple contusions about his body, a broken arm, and several broken fingers as a result of the attack with a bat or similar object. I'm announcing today the establishment of a fund to assist these victims with their medical and/or living expenses. At my private office, that fund will be established, and my law firm will be the initial depositor of $500 into that fund. Anyone wishing to donate should send or drop off a check at my law office at 1013 Brown Street, Peekskill, across the street from the Paramount, or they can drop it at the mayor's office at City Hall. The check should be made payable to the Catalina law firm with a designation in the memo section of the check, quote, donation for victims, unquote. Actions of the city court judge, I would like to comment on that. As mayor of the city, I would be derelict in my duties if I did not comment in my official capacity about this incident. Not only were these crimes an outrage committed by depraved individuals with no respect for the law, no respect for the rights of others, or did they even have a modicum of human decency, they are not indicative of this community. These crimes were compounded by a sitting judge who released them to prey on other citizens despite their records, despite being told by the lieutenant on duty that they were the prime suspects in the even more vicious assault on Friday night. We know that 3 misdemeanors committed by Akeem Joseph on Monday, crimes against our brave police officers, would not have occurred had common sense bail been set just the day before on Sunday by this judge. Melissa Lohr, the judge in question, has a full-time job as a legal aid lawyer for the Bronx. She was given this plum job here in Peekskill as the Associate City Court Judge and is being paid an obscene amount of money, $88,000, plus medical, plus pension, plus everything else, for a 1-day-a-week job. All that is expected of her for that $88,000 a year is to lay down the rule of law and set the tempo in the city that crime, especially violent crime, will be dealt with seriously. When she was interviewed by the Common Council for that job, I literally begged the council to have that interview held in public. They declined. I believe the reason for that was to hide this judge's blatant bias against police officers, a bias that she wears publicly, by the way, to be shown. When I asked her in that interview what criminal justice issue was the most pressing in Peekskill, she said police profile and police misconduct. I was astounded. When I asked her what was the most satisfying case in her career, she replied, getting a criminal client off on a technicality. No wonder they wanted that interview in private. Unfortunately, there is little we can do as a city to remove this mammoth mistake that was made by politically motivated councilpersons. However, as a lawyer in practice for 36 years, her conduct was so outrageous that it was, in my opinion, not only called into question her judgment, but also her competence. I began to question in my own mind, what could possibly she have been thinking to not set bail on these violent offenders? Well, several days have now passed, and in social media, we may have the hint as to why that was the case. There are allegations on social media that one or more of the defendants may have dated the judge's daughter. There is an allegation of a relationship, either by blood or social, between one or more of the defendants and a sitting council person, and that possibly calls were made to the judge. We know that despite a prohibition against judges attending political events, this judge attended a fundraiser just last week, or flaunted the rules by being there and standing on the curb or roadway of the outdoor event, talking to those present, clearly flaunting her position as a judge. I want the public to know that these rumors and posts on social media are being fully investigated, and every allegation will be, because if even one single one of them, if true, contaminates our criminal justice system and will not be tolerated by my administration. If any single one allegation is proven true, it will be reported immediately to the state judicial authorities and the district attorney's office for possible prosecution. I'll now take any questions you may have.
How were those police officers attacked, and what were their injuries?
The police officer, the Ishmael, was identified, and they were searching for him. His brother, Essa, the twin brother, was at the location they were searching and hindered with that search. Physically interfered with.
And what were their injuries, the police officers?
I have no reports of any police officer being injured by this guy. They know who he is, they know what he is, and they use appropriate force to deal with it.
So, do you know if these allegations against the judge are true? And if not, why would you repeat them?
I'm repeating what's in social media and widely spread in social media by multiple posts, and I want the public to know, because posts are made, Mayor, what are you doing about this? Or why can't we investigate this? Those posts are serious enough to warrant somebody to look into it.
So are you saying it because you believe them?
I'm saying them because they're posted. They're serious allegations, and I can't think of any other reason any judge would ever do what she did, and that provides a viable motive that will be investigated.
How is it being investigated, and if these allegations are proven true, what's the outcome?
We have methods, and I'm not at liberty to discuss the specific investigatory methods.
What would be the outcome if the allegations are proven true?
Complaints can be made to the State Commission on Judicial Conduct if those allegations are true. This judge was already 1 month in office in January of 2017, called a judge in the town of Cortland trying to get special treatment for her daughter in a criminal case in the town of Cortland. And I'd refer you to Judge McCarthy for any comment that he may want to make on that. So I know that the allegations warrant further looking into.
What are the victims saying as far as this being a hate crime? Have they said they heard some sort of comment in the attack, or
yes,
what do you have on that?
Yes, and multiple victims are not coming forward against these individuals.
What are they saying?
They're saying it was a hate crime. I don't want to get into the specific allegation because some defense lawyer might twist my words down the road. I haven't seen the exact statements that were given to the police. I haven't read them or studied them, but it's being investigated as a hate crime. That evidence, the bits of evidence that you gather from the various sources, will be presented to the district attorney's office, who will determine whether we have enough evidence to go forward on, not we, but whether the district attorney's office has enough evidence to go forward as a hate crime.
So do you want the judge to step down, or do you just want me to be investigated? What exactly do you
Look, I did not vote for her. It's no secret that I don't think she's qualified. Now I'm convinced that I was right. I'll let other council people who voted for her explain their vote if they feel it appropriate. If the public wants them to explain it, I urge them to come to a common council meeting and demand an answer from your elected representatives. But I can't speak for them. I don't think she was qualified in the first place.
How long is your term?
I believe it's 6 years.
Mayor, it's not the first time that we have the same problem with the Hispanic community. What do you think about it?
Well, I think that people take advantage of the Hispanic community because they think that if people don't have the proper documentation, that they'll be reluctant to report a crime. And we've gone out of our way to let them know that if they are victims of a crime, their immigration status should not in any way hinder them or prevent them from making a report to our police department. We are not a sanctuary city, but we passed a resolution that basically says we are everything, and we don't use the S word because we don't want to lose a lot of federal funding. You can see that starting to happen now on a national level. But we are fully protective of all of our citizens, especially those most vulnerable.
Justice
Other than the interviews that you did with the judge where you felt that she was anti-law enforcement, are there any other examples you can point to where you feel she's demonstrated that she's against the police?
Well, I can only tell you that I'm a lawyer here for 36 years, and the Peekskill lawyers have never been happier with the appointment of this judge. Period. Including, You know, my own daughter, who maintains her own practice in Peekskill, we do much better with defendants here in Peekskill. Lawyers in general, we do much better here. And you just, I mean, if somebody wants to search out the record, bail is hardly ever set. And, you know, I'm trying to find out if there was a transcript of their arraignment in this case, because I understand that the district attorney or the arresting authorities were questioned as if they were being questioned by their defense attorney, not a judge. And I'm trying to get a hold of that transcript. That it was quite a despicable display of judicial temperament.
So the status of the 3 suspects, are they in custody, out of custody?
Yeah, they're in court today, actually. The one suspect, I believe, that $10,000 bail was set, has not made bail. The other one was ROR, and the $500 defendant, I don't know if he posted that bail.
And again, how are the victims doing?
Victims are fine. They're home resting with their families. We don't know if there's any permanent brain damage to the Friday night victim, but he is home, so that would be a good sign, I would think.
So all of them are out of the hospital?
Both of them are out of the hospital.
And so my final question is, you're calling this news conference to say, it's weird.
Well, there's a lot of information floating around in social media. We think it's important that the people know exactly what happened. There are 2 separate incidences. There was no arrest on the Friday night incident until after there was an arrest on the Saturday night incident. And the overlapping gets confusing. And one of the judge's supporters posted she did set bail. It was set at $10,000, and that's just not, I mean, it's true, but it's not true in the context of what we're talking about here. The bail of $10,000 was set after he was released ROR, but it's also not fair to say that because she released him, he committed another assault. The first assault was committed before the second. Also, I wanted to update the community on the condition of the victims, and most importantly, to announce the establishment of that fund that we have started.
How big of an issue would you say hate crimes are in Peekskill?
You know, listen, to the extent that they're reported, I don't think it's a serious issue because we don't get a lot of them reported. This is a very aberrational event to have this violent felony. They're charged with a C felony. You could do 15 years in jail for that, and they're only 21 years old. Robbery and gang assault. We don't have that kind of action here in Peekskill. You know, if we have 8 or 10 felony arrests, multiple felonies at the same time, somebody might do a felony DWI or something. But to have somebody charged with 3 felonies in one incident, and to have 2 of them back to back, 2 days in a row, is just it's just not Peekskill. So that's why, you know, we want to address it and let people know that, unfortunately, the actions of the judge don't show that the city of Peekskill takes it seriously. But thank God there's a higher authority than her, and the district attorney's office is on the case. Okay. I want to thank you all for being here today. Well, she is. Matter of fact, I have a case in front of her in a few minutes. I'm just
I was thinking, good luck.